The female CEO hates me to the bone. To save her lover, she's forcing me to divorce her. Elias, if you don't sign, I'll break your legs. I did a quick mental calculation. How much alimony could I get out of this? Then, without hesitation, I signed the divorce agreement. It's laughable, really. This stepping stone kind of male supporting character, if anyone wants it, they can have it. I just want to enjoy life. When I woke up, I was lying under the sun on a sprawling estate that stretched for thousands of acres. It took me a few moments to realize what had just happened. Originally, I was just a shady street vendor, selling low-quality grilled sausages. Yet somehow, I'd transmigrated into the male supporting character in a melodramatic tragic romance novel. According to the book, I had a business marriage with the female lead, Alice. I'd been infatuated with her for more than a decade, but she never loved me. Her heart belonged to Benjamin. Trying to tear them apart, I did every kind of despicable thing imaginable. And in the end, I fell off a cliff and died a miserable death. The thought made me shiver. The original character was nothing but cannon fodder, a stepping stone for the main couple. If I wanted to survive, I couldn't follow his footsteps. I flipped over, ready to keep basking in the sunlight, when my phone suddenly rang. It was Alice. The moment I picked up, her cold voice cut through the line. "Elias, you better get your ass over here right now." And then it hit me. Yesterday, Alice had demanded a divorce. I'd refused, and out of anger, I'd actually sent someone to kidnap Benjamin. Thankfully, Alice had shown up with her bodyguards in time, and Benjamin only suffered minor injuries. Now she was coming to settle the score. I hung up in a panic. I'd hurt Alice's lover. She'd definitely want to kill me. No way. I had to run. I jumped up and rushed back inside. But the estate was so massive that by the time I reached the living room, I was already drenched in sweat. Alice and I slept in separate rooms. She never let me into hers, but I knew where she kept her jewelry. The original Elias was just a foster son of the Law family, ignored and never given a share of the family fortune. His bank account barely had enough for a month's expenses, so before running, I needed to grab some money. I spotted a sapphire necklace. It looked insanely expensive. A few of these and I'd be set for life. While searching around, I found a sketchbook. I opened it. It was a birthday gift from Elias to Alice. Inside were sketches of her, starting from when she was a teenager. Each one was dated and perfectly preserved. It was obvious that the original Elias had loved Alice deeply. But no matter how much he loved her, he was worthless in her eyes. I remembered a scene from the book. Just before Elias died, he had begged Alice to look at him one last time. But she hadn't even glanced at him. Her heart and soul were entirely devoted to Benjamin, the original Elias. What a fool. I put the sketchbook back and continued searching for the necklace. Just as I was about to sneak out with it in hand, I spotted 2 bodyguards coming my way. It was over. I was trapped. Half an hour later, I was dragged into a private room. The moment I saw Alice sitting there, I froze. Her face was exquisite, her skin fair and so delicate it looked like it could shatter with a touch. She radiated nobility and elegance. No wonder the original Elias had loved her so obsessively. She was breathtaking. Benjamin sat beside her. The very image of a righteous male lead. Tragic past, handsome face, the kind that made the female lead melt. Around them were members of other wealthy families, all watching me with obvious amusement. Alice looked at me coldly. "Elias, get on your knees and apologize to Benjamin." Benjamin tugged gently at her hand. "It's all right, Alice," he said softly, but Alice's tone was firm and icy. "No, he dared to kidnap you. He has to pay for it. I knew she wouldn't let me off easily. She wanted to humiliate me to comfort her precious Benjamin, but a real man knows when to endure." Survival was priority number 1, so I dropped to my knees with a loud thud. "Sorry, Benjamin," I said. "I shouldn't have had you kidnapped." Not only was Alice stunned, everyone else in the room was also taken aback. I looked up and asked, "Do I need to kowtow too?" Before Alice could even respond, I slammed my forehead to the ground. "Enough." Alice's voice was cold. She tossed a divorce agreement at me and said through gritted teeth, "Elias, if you don't sign today, I'll break your legs." I instinctively touched my legs and shuddered. Then I looked down at the divorce agreement and finally realized why she'd called me here. Standing up, I flipped through it. Wait, after the divorce, She was going to give me $200 million in alimony and 10 properties? Holy shit, what a deal! Tears instantly filled my eyes. I didn't want to cry, but damn, that was too generous. Seeing me tear up, Alice frowned, assuming I was reluctant to divorce. Elias, if you don't sign... Before she could finish, I grabbed a pen, signed my name, and handed it back to her. When do we go get the divorce certificate? I asked casually. Alice blinked, clearly stunned. She hadn't expected me to agree so easily. Elias, you really agreed to divorce? I looked at Benjamin and sighed. Your lover's back. I'm just being generous and letting you two be happy. Although Alice was surprised, she didn't dwell on it for long. After all, the divorce was all she cared about. We agreed to finalize it the next morning. When I left the club, I couldn't help opening the divorce papers again, just to count the zeros one more time. So much money. In real life, even if I grilled sausages every day and night, I'd never earn that much. No need to buy a new house. I could just pick one from the 10 and either rent or sell the rest. The thought alone made me giddy. Alice was incredibly generous, though for her, that was probably just pocket change. I didn't expect that the moment I got back to the estate, my phone would ring again. It was Alice. Come to the old mansion. Then she hung up. I checked the time. It was around dinner. Was she inviting me over for a meal? Considering the Lee family's wealth, the food was probably top tier. So I rushed over eagerly, but the second I stepped into the Lee family mansion, I knew something was off. Alice and Benjamin stood in the middle of the living room. Father Lee sat on the couch, his face dark and stormy. He must have found out that Alice was divorcing me for Benjamin, and he was furious. Benjamin shot me a quick glance before saying respectfully to Father Lee, Uncle Lee, some things just can't be forced. Alice is already carrying my child. I hope you can support us. What the hell? So Alice had already been sleeping with Benjamin behind my back, but there was nothing about her being pregnant in the novel. Maybe the system was glitching. Whatever. As long as the money was already in my hands, I couldn't care less. Alice looked at me, her expression complicated. She opened her mouth as if wanting to explain something, but before she could speak, Father Lee slammed the teapot to the floor. He pointed at Alice, furious. How could I have raised such a shameless daughter? Lee father went on and on, scolding Alice. I stood there quietly, saying nothing. I didn't love Alice, so her actions didn't sting me the way they might have. Still, as a man, it was a little irritating. The original character had been treated with no respect at all. Then I thought about the $200 million in alimony, and my mood lightened immediately. When Lee father finished his tirade, he ordered the servants to kick Benjamin out. Though furious over Alice's disgrace, he had no choice but to approve the divorce. Maybe out of some guilty conscience toward me, he even sent several jade antiques as a parting gift. I cried in his arms and said, "Thank you, Father." The next morning, Alice and I went to the office to finalize the divorce. As soon as I stepped out of the car, I saw Benjamin standing by the door. Tch, he really couldn't stay away. His aura felt different from yesterday. His eyes wore that smug look, probably because he thought that with Alice pregnant with his child, he'd already won, huh? I'm not the original Elias, that idiot. And I'm not going to fight him for Alice. I don't want to be some tragic lover. Right now, all I cared about was getting the divorce, securing the alimony, and living well. There weren't many people at the office today, so it wasn't long before Alice and I were called in. 10 minutes later, we walked out, both looking defeated. Benjamin hurried over, asking anxiously, "Alice, did you get the divorce certificate?" Alice shook her head. "No," Benjamin frowned. "How could that be? Did Elias back out and refuse to divorce?" I rolled my eyes at him. "You've never been divorced, huh? Now there's a cooling off period for divorces. We have to wait 30 days before we can finalize it. I'd only just learned about the cooling off period myself. So annoying." I was grumbling inwardly and missed Benjamin's slightly evasive glance. He raised his voice. "Of course I've never been divorced." Why was he shouting? I couldn't have cared less about his marital history. Benjamin glared at me. "Elias, I warn you, when the time comes, you better come to finalize the divorce like a man. Don't even think about backing out." I gave a cold smile. "Sure, whoever doesn't want a divorce is the dog." At that, Alice's face went green with anger. I didn't care if her face was green or red as I walked off. To avoid any complications and make sure I actually got the alimony, I made a point of showing up in front of Alice every day to make her hate me more and to see if I could squeeze a little extra out of her. After all, I'd suffered enough chasing her for years with no return. Now asking for some material compensation felt perfectly reasonable. Money. The more, the better. Finally, Alice couldn't stand me anymore and threw a black card at me. Get lost. I looked at the black card in my hand, and no matter how hard I tried to suppress it, I couldn't help smiling. All right, I'm out of here. Being unable to get the divorce certificate yet had me feeling down, so I decided to cheer myself up. I went to a car dealership and walked out with a Rolls-Royce Cullinan, paid with Alice's card. Despite everything, Alice had never been stingy with money where the original character was concerned. It was one of her few redeeming qualities. As I cruised around in the luxury car, every head on the street turned to look. Of course, a handsome guy in a fancy car. Who wouldn't be mesmerized? Next, I went to the hospital for a full-body checkup. Gotta make sure I don't blow all this money and lose my life in the process. As I was leaving, someone called my name. Elias. I looked up to see Selena, the original Elias's childhood friend who'd secretly loved him for years. He'd never returned her feelings, insisting on staying with Alice, which turned Selena and Alice into bitter rivals. After I'd married Alice, Selena and I hadn't kept in touch much. I shook my head. To have such a pure, sweet girl by your side and not appreciate her. What was the original Elias thinking? Selena asked. Are you feeling unwell? No, I just came for a routine checkup, I said, looking at her. How about you? She lifted the bag in her hand. I'm picking up my dad's heart medication. After a pause, she added, I heard you're divorcing Alice. I nodded. Yeah, she's pregnant with Benjamin's child. Am I supposed to stay married to her and celebrate the new year together? Selena was shocked for a moment, then her gaze turned suspicious. Elias, it's been a while. You seem different. You used to be completely obsessed with Alice. To cover my unease, I cleared my throat a couple of times. After chasing her for so many years with no response, I'm tired. She can love whoever she wants. I'm handsome and I've got money. Finding a wife won't be a problem. Selena kept staring, trying to figure out what had changed. To ease the awkwardness, I gave a dry laugh. Anyway, I've got to go. Let's grab a meal sometime. She was too perceptive for her own good, so I hurried off before she could piece everything together. With 28 more days until the cooling-off period ended, I spent my time eating, drinking, shopping, and packing my bags. The more I could take now, the better. I'd sell whatever I didn't need later. When the cooling-off period finally passed, I reminded Alice to go get the certificate with me. She frowned as she looked at me. Elias, why do I feel like you're more eager to divorce than I am? I blinked. What man would want to keep the woman who cheated on him? It was perfectly natural for me to want out. I'm just thinking about you, I said. If we don't hurry up, when your kid is born, whose name will it go under? It can't be mine, right? Alice went quiet for a few seconds, then said, Elias. I cut her off. Enough. Don't say anything else. The child can't go on my household register. I don't want to be a dad. Alice's face darkened. We headed to the parking lot, and just as we were about to get in the car, Alice's phone rang. I couldn't hear the caller, but her expression turned grim. After she hung up, she grabbed my arm, her face tight with anger. Benjamin's missing. Did you have something to do with it? Where did you take him? Benjamin missing? I shook my head fast. It's not me. Alice didn't believe me. Impossible. You must be the one who doesn't want a divorce, so you hid Benjamin. Elias, you're despicable. I really wanted to curse. The original Elias had done terrible things to Benjamin, sure, but now I was Elias. I was busy making money. Who had time for petty tricks? Still, I didn't want Benjamin to actually be in trouble, otherwise Alice would be certain I was behind it. How do you know he's missing? Have you double-checked? I asked. Alice glared at me fiercely. And Benjamin had planned to meet for lunch about an hour earlier, so she'd sent someone to pick him up. But they couldn't reach him or find him anywhere. I thought for a moment and said, Take me to his place. Maybe we can find some clues. Alice stared at me for a long moment. Elias, if anything happens to Benjamin, I won't let you off the hook. I didn't even bother arguing with her. There was no point. Finding Benjamin was the only thing that mattered right now. When we arrived at Benjamin's place, I took a quick look around. Nothing. Not a single clue. Did he really just vanish into thin air? Or could it be that he'd ended up like me, pulled into some novel destined to play the cannon fodder? Alice shot me a death glare, her voice sharp with anger. Elias, if you're pulling any tricks— Before she could finish, I froze. There was a faint sound coming from inside. Without a word, I rushed toward the bathroom. The moment I pushed open the door, I nearly burst out laughing. Benjamin was slumped beside the toilet, reeking of alcohol, completely passed out. Alice hurried forward and knelt beside him, calling out, "Benjamin! Benjamin, wake up!" He slowly blinked awake, squinting up at her. "Alice? What are you doing here?" She frowned. "We were supposed to meet for lunch. Did you forget?" Benjamin scratched his head, wobbling a little as he stood. "Oh, right. I must have forgotten. Drank too much last night with some friends." I glanced at the bodyguards and frowned. "You guys didn't think to check the bathroom?" The bodyguard hung his head. "We didn't expect him to be in there." I sighed. Fair point. Who would imagine someone passing out beside a toilet? Pretty original of him, honestly. Alice glared at her men. "You're all useless." I rolled my eyes. "Former fiancé," I said dryly. "Next time, maybe confirm the facts before accusing me. Don't just throw blame around." After all that tension, it turned out to be a total misunderstanding. And now, somehow, I was the one looking bad. Before Alice could say anything, Benjamin spoke up coldly. "If you hadn't kidnapped me last time, Alice wouldn't have suspected you." I almost laughed in disbelief. All right. But next time you decide to nap beside the toilet, give me a heads up first." "You—" Benjamin's face flushed with anger. I couldn't be bothered to argue with him anymore. Turning to Alice, I said, "Let's go. No more delays, I've got alimony to collect." The Civil Affairs Bureau was packed that day. We waited in line forever before it was finally our turn. But at last, I walked out holding the divorce certificate. The money and property were settled. And just like that, Bro was free. From now on, I'd live the good life, eat good food, and finally enjoy my peak era. Alice caught the satisfied smile on my face. "Elias, what are you smiling about?" I'd suffered enough for years, chasing after her shadow. Now that I'd finally gotten what I wanted, why wouldn't I be smiling? Still, I couldn't be bothered to explain. I just shrugged. "Nothing, I'm heading out." That same day, I moved out of the estate. I rented a spacious apartment downtown, not as grand as the mansion, but perfect for one person. The rest of the properties? Rented out for steady cash flow. When the Law family heard I'd actually gone through with the divorce, they were furious. They even called, demanding I apologize to Alice and beg her to reconcile. To them, I'd only ever been a pawn, someone to tie their family's interest to the Lees. So I blocked every single one of them. Pathetic. If someone else wanted to play the tragic supporting male lead, they could go ahead. Me? I just wanted to enjoy life. That night, I went to a bar. Life's short, why not have some fun? After a few drinks, I ran into Selena. "Elias, you actually came to a bar?" she asked, looking genuinely surprised. I smirked, pulling the divorce certificate from my pocket. "I'm a free man now. Don't I deserve to celebrate?" She glanced at the certificate, then smiled faintly. "Then how about I keep you company for a few drinks?" I grinned. "Sure, but you're buying." The Ma family was just as rich as the Lees, and Selena, being the only child, had more money than she could ever spend. Letting her treat me was practically a public service. She sat down, resting her chin in her hand as she studied me. "Alice might not be a saint," she said lightly, "but I'm guessing she didn't go easy on the alimony." I chuckled. "Of course not. I'm definitely getting remarried someday. I've got to save for my next wife." Selena raised a brow. "Already thinking about remarriage right after your divorce?" I shrugged. What, am I supposed to stay single for her? Not happening. She's the past. Whatever I said seemed to please her, because she suddenly offered to cover all my drinks that night. I was thrilled and immediately ordered the most expensive bottle on the menu. The next morning, I woke up in a hotel bed. Selena was asleep beside me. Panicking, I checked myself, thankfully still intact. Nothing had happened. Selena stirred, stretching lazily. If you're gonna drink, at least know your limits, she grumbled. You're ridiculously heavy. It was exhausting dragging you here. Turns out I'd gotten drunk and she'd brought me to the nearest hotel to make sure I didn't choke on my own vomit. She'd stayed up all night watching me, then dozed off beside me. I looked at her and couldn't help but chuckle. She was a lot more reliable than Alice ever was. Remembered the time Elias had gotten drunk and argued with Alice. She'd been so furious she ordered the guards to throw him out. He spent the whole night sleeping on the lawn. That was when he swore never to drink again. After checking out, Selena and I stepped out of the hotel, and there she was. Alice. Benjamin stood beside her in a crisp suit, looking perfectly put together. They must have been meeting a client. After all, this hotel belonged to the Lee Group. Selena nudged me, whispering, "Look." I just shrugged. A qualified ex should act like they're dead. No need for greetings. Someone like me, a side character, could never outshine the main couple. Better to stay out of the plot entirely. Alice's eyes lingered on me for a few seconds before she said something to Benjamin. His expression darkened, but he got into the car and drove off alone. Then Alice walked toward us, her face stormy. "I need to talk to you," she said flatly. Before I could respond, Selena gave me a small nod. "I'll wait for you in the car." With that, she turned and left. I faced Alice. "Lee, what's this about?" She glared at me. "What's your relationship with Selena?" I almost laughed. "Seriously? She was my ex. What right did she have to question me?" "Whatever you think it is," I said lazily. "That's exactly what it is." Maybe she sensed the change in my attitude, because Alice pressed her lips together and said quietly, "I'm not pregnant." Not pregnant? So Benjamin must have used that as a ploy to push the Lee family into approving our divorce. But honestly, who cared? Her heart had always belonged to Benjamin. Pregnant or not, it didn't change a thing. I shrugged and said casually, "Then you'd better hurry up and get pregnant with Benjamin's kid." Alice froze, clearly stunned. "What did you just say?" I couldn't help but laugh. Really, how could she still look upset? A generous ex-husband like me is a rare breed. "I'm just wishing you two the best," I said. "You've always wanted to be with Benjamin. Now you can." Alice fell silent. I assumed that was the end of it, so I turned to leave, but she suddenly called out, "Elias!" I looked back. What now? I didn't sound irritated, but my tone made it pretty clear I wasn't interested in chatting either. Alice's gaze was a little strange. "I'll drive you home." I waved her off and nodded toward the car parked ahead. "No need. Selena's giving me a ride." Without waiting for her reply, I walked away briskly. When I got into the car, I glanced out the window. Alice was still standing there, motionless. Selena glanced at me from the driver's seat. "You're not still thinking about Alice, are you?" I scoffed. "Don't be ridiculous. Help me check. See that girl in the short skirt over there? She's pretty, right?" My eyes are still blurry from drinking. Selena rolled her eyes. "Here I thought you were still hung up on Alice, but looks like you've already moved on, and pretty fast at that." I chuckled. "I'd have to be insane to care about Alice anymore. She's nothing but bad luck. Maybe Elias really did die because of her, and that's how I ended up here." Selena couldn't help laughing. Her smile lit up her whole face, and for a second I couldn't look away. The next few days were pure bliss. I took a 2-week vacation and traveled the world. Now I finally understood why rich people loved being lazy. It felt amazing to just lie flat and do nothing. When I got back, Selena dropped by to visit and brought news. Apparently, Benjamin had married a rich woman abroad years ago, but when she found someone younger and better looking, she dumped him. After the divorce, Benjamin had come crawling back to China to chase Alice again. No wonder he'd been so desperate last time we talked about the divorce. Alice was furious when she found out he'd been lying to her. They'd had a huge fight, and in the middle of it, she fell down the stairs and got hurt. Selena gave me a meaningful look. If you still have feelings for her, now's your chance. She's in the hospital. She probably thought I was still in love with Alice. After all, Elias had been obsessed with her for years. I snorted. Are you kidding? I want to live a long, peaceful life, not throw it away on her. Just then, my phone rang. Alice, I answered. Hello? Her voice was weak and hoarse. Elias, I'm in the hospital. Why should I care? I wasn't her mom. Still, I replied politely. Oh, well, take care of yourself. Elias, she said softly, aren't you coming to see me? That made me pause for a second. 2 years ago, when she'd been in a car accident, Elias had stayed by her side day and night, more attentive than any nurse, and she'd repaid him with indifference. Now she was asking me to come take care of her? Not a chance. We're divorced, I said flatly. There's no reason to stay in touch. And I'm definitely not coming to visit you. If that's all, I'm hanging up. After ending the call, I noticed Selena watching me. You said you'd take me out for a meal, she reminded me. I'd said that casually before, but apparently, she remembered. Fine, I said with a laugh. I'll go buy some groceries. We'll eat at home, she raised an eyebrow. You can cook? The original Elias definitely couldn't, but I could. It's not hard, I said. Wait here. I'll make you a feast. Honestly, it was also to save money. If we went out, she'd probably order something worth tens of thousands. 2 hours later, Selena sat at the table, eyes wide in delight, giving me a thumbs up. Wow, this is incredible. You're almost as good as a professional chef. She picked up her chopsticks and began eating, humming happily as she praised every bite. Coming from someone born into luxury, her compliments meant something, and seeing her enjoy the meal made me feel strangely content too. At one point, I accidentally dropped my chopsticks. Selena and I both reached for them at the same time. Our fingers brushed, we froze. Her face turned bright red, and she quickly tried to pull her hand back, but I caught it. Selena, I said softly. She looked up, startled. My heart was pounding. Compared to Alice's cold, untouchable demeanor, I much preferred Selena. She looked tough and proud on the outside, but inside she was gentle and warm, and truthfully, I was just an ordinary guy with zero romantic experience. I held my breath and leaned in, pressing a light kiss to her cheek. Selena's eyes went wide. Before she could finish, the doorbell rang. I sighed and went to open it, only to find Alice standing there. She had lost weight, her face pale and fragile. Bandages wrapped around her head, making her look like some tragic heroine. I frowned. Seriously? It was just a breakup. Did she really need to look half dead over it? Her voice trembled as she said, I looked at that album and now I finally understand how much you loved me. I'm sorry, Elias, I was wrong.
Can you forgive me?
Elias really had loved her once. Anyone could see that from the album. When I didn't answer, she started crying. Elias, I regret it. Alice sobbed, her voice breaking. I shouldn't have divorced you. I've missed you so much these past few weeks. Can you come back to me? If Elias had been here, he would have been devastated seeing her cry like this. But I wasn't Elias, even if she cried her heart out. It meant nothing to me. Alice, I said calmly. There's no such thing as a regret pill. We're done. Her eyes widened, panic flashing across her face. I don't believe you. I know. Before she could finish, Selena appeared beside me and wrapped her arms around my waist. Elias, she said sweetly, the roasted ribs you made are amazing. I smiled down at her. Glad you like them. Selena looked at Alice, who was frozen in shock, and let out a teasing laugh. You're something else, Miss Lee. A guest shows up and you don't even invite her to sit? Alice's face went ghostly pale. She looked at me with a mix of hurt and disbelief before turning and running off. Watching her leave, I couldn't help thinking, wow, the female lead had truly fallen from grace. Life really knew how to flip the script. Selena pinched my waist, pouting. What was that look on your face just now? You kissed me earlier. Don't tell me you're trying to back out now. I chuckled, rubbing her head gently. What are you talking about? I'm more worried you'll dump me first. Selena's face turned bright red, and before I even realized it, she threw herself into my arms. I wrapped her tightly, feeling the softness of her body and the comfort of holding her close. Honestly, it felt perfect. After we confirmed our relationship, Selena took me to meet her parents. Knowing her dad had a heart condition, I brought some health supplements for him. Her parents liked me instantly. They didn't care that I was a divorcee and even asked when we were planning to get married. Selena wasn't getting any younger. I held Selena's hand and said confidently, "Next month." Her parents' faces lit up, grinning from ear to ear, repeatedly saying how great it was. We chatted for a bit longer before they went upstairs, leaving Selena and me alone. She looked at me nervously. "You told my parents we're getting married next month, but..." Before she could finish, her eyes fell on the diamond ring on my finger. She froze. I had bought it before coming to her parents' house. I wasn't going to waste any time. I wanted to marry her as soon as possible. Looking at her seriously, I asked, "Selena, will you marry me?" The diamond was 10 carats, flashy as hell. I might be cheap in some ways, but when it came to marrying the woman I loved, I wasn't holding back. Selena was so moved she started crying. I smiled and reached to wipe her tears, but she slapped my hand away. "Stop wiping my tears." "Hurry up and put the ring on me," she exclaimed. I laughed, realizing she was scared I'd back out. I slid the ring onto her finger and she hugged me tightly. I hugged her back just as fiercely. With the wedding next month, things felt a little rushed, but I didn't mind. I wanted every moment with her. The next morning, I accompanied Selena to a bridal shop to try on wedding dresses. After she picked one, she went to change while I waited on the sofa. Suddenly, I felt a piercing gaze on me. I looked up. It was Alice. She asked quietly, "Are you really going to marry Selena?" I nodded. "Yes, we've already set the date." Her face fell, sadness washing over her. "Can't you not marry her? I cut her off, looking straight at her. "Alice, you don't love me. You're just being possessive because you see me with someone else." "That's all it is." Her tears welled up as she protested. "No!" I always thought I loved Benjamin, but after the divorce, I realized I regretted it. "I can't let you go, Elias. I love you." I didn't want Selena to see Alice ruin the mood, so I said bluntly, "Even if you regret it, it doesn't matter to me. I only want to be with Selena now." Alice's tears fell harder, but I stayed firm. "Look, I don't even feel anything when I see you cry. Don't you get it? I don't love you anymore." She froze, biting her lip, then silently turned and walked away. Outside, the rain had started pouring. Alice had no umbrella, letting the rain soak her completely. She looked disheveled and miserable. I had never seen her like this, so vulnerable, so unapproachable, so unlike the high and mighty woman she had always been. But I felt nothing. At that moment, Selena came out of the fitting room in her wedding dress. She looked breathtaking, almost blindingly beautiful, sweetheart. "You look so beautiful, so captivating," I said, holding her close. She blushed and smiled. "You're just full of sweet talk." I pulled her closer. "I'm telling the truth. For me, Selena was the woman I was meant to be with." The wedding day arrived soon after. Both of us were full of excitement and happiness. After the ceremony, I carried Selena in my arms as we headed home. Out of the corner of my eye, I thought I saw Alice's figure. But I didn't care. Looking down at Selena, safe and happy in my arms, I smiled, feeling a contentment I had never known before. "Sweetheart," I whispered, and she looked up at me with a glowing smile.